Hi, Cory. Thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast today. I'm so happy to have you.
Hi, Carrie. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Great. So can you tell us first, maybe where are you in the world? Where are you coming to us from today?
I am in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, so I have a lot of family out in California, one in LA right now. So I want to ask you first for your backstory. Can you kind of give us your history, the story that led you to where you are in your work today?
Sure. I'm a business consultant and positive psychology coach. And part of how I got here was living in Los Angeles. The rumors about traffic are true. And I used to commute to my corporate job over 3 hours a day in Los Angeles traffic. So I did that. I worked hard. I raised my family. And I know I'm generalizing a bit here, but as women, I think we're amazing multitaskers. So we do all the things. And I got really burnt out.
Mhm.
So I decided I could no longer do the corporate job and decided to leave that job and start my own business.
Mhm.
And with visions of all the freedom and ease and all the things I would have once I did that. And I quickly got to that same place of doing everything myself. Instead of driving 3 hours and sitting at my desk, I just walked over to my, dining room table and was working, but I wouldn't get up from the table and was doing all the things in my business myself and very quickly got close to that burnout place again. So I decided, okay, things have to change. I need some help. I need to figure out a way out of this. And I have, and it's what I love doing today is helping other women who own their businesses and are feeling overwhelmed and burnt out and can't figure out a way out of doing all the things themselves.
Yeah. It's funny, all of the struggles that we have sometimes lead us into the work that we're doing currently.
Yes,
So while it can seem like a terrible thing at the time, it does kind of have a place in your overall journey finally, right? Um,
definitely.
I remember when my aunt has passed, but and she died young, and I really feel like her lifestyle, the hectic nature of it, contributed to that. She was raising four kids on her own for many years. My uncle died in Vietnam, and
Mm.
they moved to California. They were all grown, and she took a corporate job in Los Angeles, but she was living in Bakersfield. So you can imagine she took
Oh,
the train
wow.
there every day to this high rise building and worked. And she did that for years and years, despite the fact it was literally wearing her out. She just had one thing shutting down after the next, starting with diabetes, and it just kind of spiraled from there. Um, so you had something similar to that, but you were able to find your way out of it. Can you talk a little bit about that, about how you did that?
Sure. And I'm sorry about your aunt. That's, something to look back on now and say, wow, what kind of changes could she have made that might
Yeah.
have made the difference? Because I know when I was when I was doing that long commute and working all those hours, my hair started falling out, I lost
Yeah.
weight.
Right.
It really was showing itself in physical symptoms. So that's, sadly, I believe that's all too common today. We're
It
kind of
is.
working
It
ourselves
is.
to death.
And I'm hearing that across these interviews from different coaches and from women who have just had this experience in general, and myself included. Physical symptoms come up, and you just kind of explain them away as unexplainable because they're odd. You don't know what's happening. You're going to specialists. You have all of these weird things happening at times. But when
Yes.
your body is literally making your hair fall out, it's screaming at you to listen.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny how the symptoms can be as severe as that, but we'll blame anything else but the choices that
Yes.
we're making. Like, well,
Yes.
it can't be my job. My job is the good thing about my life. I'm being productive and I'm making money and all those things, and
Mhm.
not stopping for some introspection and some self-care and all those things that we have to try to incorporate into our
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah. So how were you able to kind of get out of that without letting it destroy your body, basically?
Sure, I realized I was going down that path again and I couldn't do it. So the first thing I did was look for help in the online community. You know, going to Facebook groups of other female entrepreneurs and how they balance their business and their life and their family. I ended up joining a mastermind group with a coach that kind of went over all those things in addition to the business logistics part. You know, here's how to run your business, here's the things you need behind the scenes, but here's also how to take care of yourself. And a great piece of advice I got from one of those coaches was to calendar in time for yourself, just like you'd calendar it in for your clients. And I had a lot of clients when I first started my business. I had 9 or 10 people I was working for. And my calendar was full of to-dos and tasks and meetings for them. But literally for me to step away and eat lunch or get some fresh air or exercise or anything was not on there. So I started calendaring my self-care.
Yep.
And that's step one. Step two is once it's in the calendar to honor it. Because at first I'd put it in there, but then I'd skip over it thinking like, well, no, this client needs this from me. I'm going to do that first. Now that never happens. It's, I mean, I would literally calendar in 20 minutes, go outside, walk the dog. I'd put that in my day. And that's the way I got into the habit of actually honoring and taking care of myself. So that was a part of it, reaching out for help, calendaring in self-care. And then also, as I was happy and successful and had a lot of clients and was busy, so I kind of got over my money mindset issues and made the decision to hire a virtual assistant for me, even though I was working as in that capacity when I first started for other business owners. And it's something that I know scares a lot of people, but it doesn't, you know, you could get somebody for 2 hours a week and it can make all the difference.
Yeah. What are some things that you hired a virtual assistant for in the beginning?
It was for helping with social media, you know, creating content and posting it. It was scheduling. It was doing all the paperwork. If I was onboarding a new client and I had to send them an invoice every month, she would take care of that. You know, you can start really small. Just one little thing taken off your plate sometimes makes a huge difference.
It really does. I have trouble myself, and this is actually my next, one of my next questions was, you know, how do you learn to take some of those things off your plate when you are someone with the personality that you want everything done the right way? And it's not going to be done correctly if I don't do it, but at the same time, you can burn yourself out. I think eventually we learn to do these things. I have a physical shop in a different state.
Yes.
And a studio here. I do the podcast. I have all of these things happening, and I'm still teaching in the morning as well, privately online. But I have a neighbor who's a college student, and when TikTok rolled around, I thought, this is it. This is what's going to break me. I'm not learning another social media platform. I'm not doing it. And I didn't even want to do Instagram at that point. So I looked at my neighbor who is in college at the time, and she was helping me in this shop. And I thought, you're probably making a lot of TikToks and just doing it for fun, which I can't for the life of me wrap my head around why anybody would want to do that for fun. And I just hired her to do it. I said, what if I gave you this much money? Can you write content for all of these pictures? And then we'll put them in a scheduler and I'll put them on Instagram. Can you make reels for me? I'm not good at this. And then can you shorten some of my YouTube videos and make TikToks? And she said, sure. And we've been doing that for 6 months. It's been great.
Isn't that amazing what a difference that can make?
Yeah.
And I think when you finally do it, and I recommend to do it like you did, one thing at a time. If you think like, oh, I need help in all these facets of my, whether it's your personal life or your business, I need all this help. Pick one of them. Pick one of them that really drains you, that, like you said, I have no desire to learn TikTok or no, you know, Instagram exhausts me, whatever it is that really saps your energy and takes you away from doing what you love doing and what your zone of genius is. Just pick that one thing and say like, hey, maybe there is a virtual assistant or a college student or, you know, my neighbor's friend or, you know, something like that, that can help you. And then once they start doing it and showing you like, guess what? You don't have to do everything yourself, and you see how much it frees you up, then it becomes a lot easier and a lot less scary.
And you never look back after that, right? You only
Never.
build from there, and you wish you had done it sooner, but we have to learn the
Yep.
hard way. So how were you able, when you were first building your business, how were you able to get clients right away to make that transition from working in the corporate world to actually having a viable business?
It was a combination of factors. One, which is what I recommend to a lot of people, is you've gotten this far, you had a corporate job or whatever you had leading up to this place, you have a lot of contacts. So that's what I did. I reached out to all the contacts and acquaintances and former colleagues that I knew from my many years in business.
Mm.
And that was my first few clients saying, hey, are you doing this? I need some help a couple hours a week. And then, I'll never forget my first client. She hired me for maybe 2 hours a month to
Mm-hmm.
just help her with her business. And I ended up staying for working with her for the next 3 years, helping her build her business to a team of 10 people and, going into the multi 6 figures of revenue a year and just helping her kind of design the whole thing. So that was one of the ways that I got clients at first. And then it also was online. I would go into Facebook groups, for example, and I wouldn't go in there selling what I did. I would just go in there sharing my knowledge, giving tips, pointers. And then you'd have people say, hey, I'm looking for someone. I own a business and I'm really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they'll reach out to you, or, you could just reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to learn more about what you do. Want to have a Zoom coffee chat? So I
Sure.
would do that. And
Mm-hmm.
and then once you get started, then word of mouth a lot of times
Yep.
takes over.
Best
You still
way.
have to, you have to maintain a presence, and you can't just sit back and let them all come to you. We wish it would work that way, but it doesn't. But word of mouth helps a lot too.
Yeah, for sure. So how many businesses have you had since you left your corporate job? Or I would say just
Um,
over the years.
Yeah, no. Since I left the corporate job in LA, there's this, I'm, like I said, business consultant and a coach. But you had mentioned this before, and one of my earlier businesses was something that came about because my son, when he was young, had learning challenges. And
Mm,
I was always advocating for him and looking for the right schools and teachers and tutors and everything. So I ended up opening my own tutoring agency.
okay.
Um, and so it's, out of life's challenges, we kind of sometimes find
Yeah.
our calling or our path. So I used to live in New York City, and this was back when I was in New York. And so I had a tutoring agency with a roster of about 20 tutors that would go into people's homes and help kids who were struggling in school. And so I've always kind of taken what challenges I've faced and turned that into, well, how can I help other people with this?
Yeah. And that's a great way to do it. And obviously it
Yeah.
becomes pretty successful. So what would you say or what was the biggest challenge, I guess, in maybe starting the business that you're running today, your coaching business?
I think with any business, the biggest challenge is taking that initial leap. I know so many
Yeah.
people that are they stay in the safety of whatever job they have now, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But so many people I know so want to, oh, I'd love to have my own business. This is my passion.
Yeah.
I love your story of how you were a teacher and then just said, this is what I want to do. It's,
Mm-hmm.
soap making and beauty
Yeah.
products and doing it in your own special way. So I always love the saying of, I know you're scared, but do it anyway. So
Yes.
I was scared. I was really scared to I'm going to leave this corporate
Mm-hmm.
cushy job with benefits
Yeah.
and jump off that cliff, and hopefully the net will appear. And it always does. You make it happen. So that to me
Yeah.
was the biggest challenge, was getting over that initial, take that first step.
Yeah. One thing I have found too, since taking that leap, and it is terrifying, I left a really financially secure, just a job in higher education. They were literally offering me promotions that were administrative as I was on my way out.
Mhm.
It can be really scary not to get thrown back in. But what I have found is after you make that leap, I started to attract a whole new world of people particularly
Yes.
women, to me, just a different type, because I think my own energy just changed. Here I am now doing what makes me happy, what lights me up every day. And it opened up new women in business coming to me that creates a whole new network. Have you had this a similar experience?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's very much like you said, the energy that you put out there. And when you're in a place that aligns with your values and your strengths, you're doing what you love, you can't help but put that out there, and people sense that.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's one of the amazing and wonderful things about it.
Yeah. So who would you say is your ideal client? If you could just pick your favorite client to work with, who would that be? What
I
would that
think
client
it's,
do?
like I said, I work primarily with women. It's something in the female energy that we connect really well. Someone who acknowledges that it is a scary thing to start
Yeah.
your own business, but they're willing to be open to trying. Um, they work hard, but they also understand that there has to be a balance there, and they're open to learning the ways to do that.
Yeah.
So, I work with all different types of business owners, whether I worked with um, a website designer, a political consultant. It just, what everybody has in common is they're women, and they have this drive to really kind of do what they love doing, and also really help other people out there, whether it's,
Yeah.
the political consultant I worked with, her goal was to get more women and people of color in office and in government, and get their voices heard. And I was, that was an instant kind of connection with me.
Yeah, I found the same thing with the women that I work with. It's really, we all have that desire to really help one another, and I think that that's what makes us work really well together. From different store owners that I work with that house my products and have for the past 8 years, it's always about how can I help you grow, and what can I do then to help your business grow as well. It's just been this wonderful kind of synchronicity, I guess.
Yes, yes, I love that.
Yeah. So what does it look like then if someone starts working with you in coaching? Say maybe they're someone who is just trying to get unstuck. They've already started their business, but they're just feeling stuck. How would you begin working with them?
One of the first exercises that I do with clients is what I call the yay, nay, giveaway exercise. And it's very simple, but it's super powerful. And what we do together is we create 3 columns, whether it's on a document on your computer or a piece of paper, and we make a yay list. Those are all the things that light you up, the things that you love doing. You're in your zone of genius. Time passes, you don't even realize it. And then the opposite of that is the next list, the nay list. What drains you? What do you not like doing? Like we talked about TikTok before. For a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, it's social media, or it's their invoicing and billing. Or
Sure.
you can also put on the yay or nay list things in your personal life too.
Mm-hmm.
I love cooking. I hate doing laundry,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And then the giveaway list is, we look at that nay list and decide, okay, what can you get rid of altogether? Or what can you delegate? And how are you going to delegate it? Is that hiring an assistant, or bartering with a friend, or joining a mastermind group, or hiring a coach, whatever that looks like. And that gives people a lot of clarity of just like, oh yeah, no wonder I'm always putting off doing the billing for my business. I hate it. I'm not good with numbers. If I
Mm-hmm.
hired an accountant or a bookkeeper, for a couple hours a month, that's off my plate. So that's one of the first things that we do. It's really getting clear on where your strengths and values lie. And so what are the tasks that align with that will best serve you?
That's a great way to start working with someone. I actually really like that idea, the yay nay list.
Yeah.
So in terms of actually hiring a coach, I feel like there are a lot of blocks out there. I hear of women becoming so successful because they have hired a coach in different areas of life, not just in business, but it could be just, personal life, nutrition, fitness, anything really,
Mhm.
removing any blocks. My sister's working with a coach right now that It was actually someone I interviewed, and it's been 4 weeks and she's having this entire transformation with her life and her career as a result.
Amazing.
But there's always making that financial investment, I think, causes people to stop because they're afraid. They might already be struggling financially in their business, something to that effect. So what would you say to that if they want to get help,
Sure.
but then I'm afraid to pay that money as well?
First thing I say is I totally get it because I've been there. And when I first started my business, I wouldn't even pay for an email address. It was, it was Cory@gmail.com or whatever, whatever it was. So I had that block because I had the same, well, if I'm not making if I don't have a lot of money coming in. But to answer that, an example I like to give is with a client that I worked with, who, when she came to me, she was a year into her business. She was doing pretty well. She had a steady roster of clients, but she was doing everything herself, like we just talked about. And she was like hair falling out, literal burnout. This isn't going to last much longer. So she hired me. She made the leap of like, I'm going to hire a coach. Consultant and coach is what I am. And we figured out the yay nay giveaway. We did that. Who she needed to hire. We worked on writing out a job description and doing the interviews. And I helped her through that whole process. She ended up she needed a project manager for her business. It was $1,000 a month investment for the project manager. Within a couple of weeks of hiring that project manager and a couple of months working with me, she signed on 2 new clients. They both were, I think one was a $5,000 a month retainer client. The other one was an $8,000 a month retainer client, because now she had the mental bandwidth to kind of be in her zone of genius, to kind of nurture her leads. She had all this time and mental capacity to be like, now I can focus on what I wanted to do in the first place because I have a project manager and because Cory led me here. So the initial investment between me and her project manager, she made that money back quite easily.
Right.
And I'm not saying it all happens quickly like that in 3 weeks.
Sure.
I'm not making any guarantee like that, but I found also with me, my business grew as I invested in a coach or a program.
Yes.
Here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like any way to make money grow, right? You have to put some money back into it. And that's one of the most valuable ways.
Sure.
Anytime I'm having a financial block, I always think, or I'm wondering, should I invest in this? Whether it's, some kind of technology or a huge piece of equipment for my business. I always think of Jen Sincero's book, You're a Badass and You're a Badass at Making Money. I love all of her books, and those stories are so great, where she's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm putting $10,000 on my credit card and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also, you're kind of reinforcing a belief in yourself and that, you can do this, which is the mindset piece that, I became a certified positive psychology coach in addition to business consulting, because every client I work with, there was mindset stuff involved.
Of course, of course.
We have to face that every day.
All right. So I have 2 more questions for you before I ask you where we can find you online. And one is a day in the life question. I love to ask this, and it's partially because I love to hear about different routines of women entrepreneurs. What would a typical day look like? I know every day is a little bit different, but are there any rituals you adhere to, things that you hold sacred? What does your day look like?
I love this question because 4 years ago, I would have said, oh, well, I get up and I have my whiteboard schedule of all my client work, and I basically sit at my desk and don't get up till dinner time. Literally, that was my day. Till I realized I can't do this anymore. So now a typical day for me is I do not get up with an alarm, which I love. I mean, I don't have young children. My son is grown now, so I do have that luxury. But so I'll get up, have a nice breakfast. I'll sit down and do a little work, kind of check emails and social media messages that came in. But I get up at least once an hour, or else I will just sit in that chair.
For sure.
I live in sunny California, take the dog out for a walk.
Yes.
Fresh air, sunshine. I take pictures along the way that maybe I'll use for social media later. It's just, And then midday, there's lunch. There's also a point in the late morning or early afternoon where I'll stop and do a couple of 7-minute workouts. I have that app on my phone and I love it. It's
7-minute ones.
7-minute workout.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll do 2 of those. And obviously go back and do more work, then meet with clients. But it's not so rigid and structured. And I'm a person who thrives in structure, but I have this loose structure now.
Me too.
That then like, yeah, I stop every day to exercise, to eat, to get outside. Sometimes my partner and I will take the dog to the dog park.
Yep.
Sometimes I will, like last week, Friday, we cut out early and went to see the new Top Gun movie. It's just,
right.
Having a life and balance. And then I find when I come back to do the work, I'm much, much better at it and I feel better. And
yes,
it serves me. And that way I can serve my people.
100%. I just did that today. I found that I was kind of, I was telling my husband this. I said, I don't know what it is. I start thinking of these things and like your mind can quickly spiral into just stress.
Oh,
and
yes.
all of a sudden you've ruined your own day just in your own head. And
Right.
I thought, you know what? We need to stop this right now. And we're going to change the schedule. And I'm going to the gym right away. And I spent a good hour sweating it out. And when I got home, I felt great. And I just went right back into work and it was fine.
Good for you. Good
Yeah.
for you. And then the important part is not to feel less than or guilty
Right.
or any of those things, because I used to tie my self-worth to my productivity.
Yes.
And if I didn't check all the boxes on my task list that day, then it wasn't a successful day.
Yeah.
And I thankfully have let go of that.
Yeah, me too. I didn't make a big vat of cream today, but that's okay because I can do that tomorrow.
That's right.
All right. So the last question is, any books you might recommend to a woman who is just starting out in business, books that may have helped you along the way?
Yeah, I love, I'm a Mike Michalowicz fan. So I love his book Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. His last name's a little hard to spell, but I can let you know.
Yeah, we can just Google Clockwork too.
Yeah, yeah. And he's all about the steps you need to create to have a business that you love and to do what you do best, like I was just talking about. So I've shared this book with my clients, and he talks about something in there called the queen bee role. What is the queen bee role in your business? That's the core function. That's the biggest determinant of whether your business will be a success. So I think just on the outside looking in at your business, Carrie, it's like the queen bee role is you coming up with these amazing new scents and names,
naming them. Yeah,
naming them. So that's something that brings in customers to you, because I know I went to your website and I was like, oh, that's cool. That makes me want to try that soap or that product.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a role that needs to be protected. How do you protect that? The ways that we talked about today.
Exactly. Outsourcing.
Hire some help, outsource. So I highly recommend the book. He gives really good actionable steps on what that queen bee role is, how you can protect it in your business to create a successful business that doesn't have you working yourself to the ground.
Yes. Great. I love that. I'm going to have to get that one too. And I like that he calls it the queen bee role. I actually made a soap one time that was in the shape of a bee, and I called it the queen bee, and it was for a reason similar. There's always some kind of hidden message behind the things I made that are for me.
I love it.
Okay. So what should I tell people? Where can we find you online in our show notes, in our video notes?
Sure. My website is coryzacker.com. And I also hang out a lot on Instagram, where I'm Cory Zacker Consulting.
Great. All right. I will include that in the notes to be sure. And it has been a pleasure talking to you today. And it was very informative for me as well. So I appreciate you joining me here.
Thanks, Carrie. I enjoyed it.